Hello there! I haven't uploaded a video in a while, but today we have it. As you can see, there is a little bit of a change in my background here and here, somewhere. Two of my cats are in the background for today's video. Today I will be building a very simple e-commerce website with Nuxt-free, TailwindCSS and Medusa. Let's go! Welcome to the live coding session of this Nuxt Medusa TailwindCSS crash course. If you are looking for a written version of this crash course, make sure to check out the article that I wrote for Dev2 that you can see right now on the screen. My application is already running in here in the background on the port 3000. To connect to Medusa, we will be using the Nuxt Medusa module. This is the module that I created a few days ago, I'm pretty happy about the fact that I can use it today in the video. Next, for the styling, we will be using Nuxt Tailwind module, and for optimized images, we will be using Nuxt image. We will change the default PNG or JPEG images into more performant WebP. Finally, what we will do is we will deploy our application to Vercel so that it is accessible from anywhere around the world. As you can see, my application is already running and it doesn't have any modules installed yet, nor any plugins. So what we will do right now is we will stop the server here and we will start installing the modules. Let's start with Medusa. And by the way, those modules, they have pretty similar approach in terms of installing them. So what I will do here is I will go to get started. I will copy this command yarn add --dev Nuxt Medusa and I will paste it here. However, that's not all, because apart from that, what we will do is we will go to Tailwind documentation, and as you can see here, the method is quite similar. So what I will do is I will just copy the name of the module so that we can install other modules the same way. And Nuxt image edge. Let's click enter and let's install all modules. The next step for each of these modules is to add them to the modules array in Nuxt config.js file or .ts file. So I will copy this and in my Nuxt config.ts file here, I will paste it. And also I will paste the Nuxt Tailwind and also Nuxt image. For Nuxt Tailwind and for Nuxt image, they will work right now without any configuration. However, for Nuxt Medusa, what we will need to do is we will need to add the Medusa URL that is described right here in order to be able to fetch the data from the Medusa e-commerce platform. By default, if you are running Medusa on your local environment, it will probably be running on localhost and port 9000. However, for the sake of this tutorial, what I will do is I will use the Medusa playground URL, and we will also use the same playground for our deployment in Vercel. So let's create a new .env file here and just save this so that we won't have any issues later. And what I will do right now is I will copy this Medusa URL and the value, which is https API demo medusacommerce.com. This is the official Medusa playground that you can check out as well. One more thing here, which is also described in the Medusa documentation about the course. By default, Medusa e-commerce platforms expect storefront to be running on port 8000. So what I will do is I will also add one more environment variable called nitro port so that our application by default will be running on port 8000 instead of 3000. So right now we have the modules registered in our nuxtconfig.ts file. We have the environment variables. So what we can do right now is we can try to test it out in our application in app.view component, just to see if the Medusa module was working as expected. So script setup lang equals ts. And in here, what I will do is I will just copy these two lines here, and I will explain them in a minute. So what they do is they will, first of all, we will register or call the use Medusa client composable. And what we'll get out of it is the client that will allow us to fetch the data from Medusa. And just below that, we are using this client to basically fetch the list of products. So what we can do next? Next, let's maybe just console log these products. Console log products. So let's try to run it, yarn dev, and see in the browser how it works and how it looks like. 3000 is no longer working, which is correct. We need to go to 8000. Also important stuff, make sure to not make a typo as I did here. It's not script, it's script. It should be now working. Let's run it again and see if it works. We have the welcome page from Nuxt. Let's see in the console what we get from the client. So what we could do here is we could even go one level deeper and just say products, so that we can get the nested products. And in here we see a list of 7 products that were fetched from Medusa. So what we could do right now is we could create 2 new pages in Vue. One will be responsible for the home page or the category page, or basically the list of products. And the second one will be responsible for displaying data about one certain product. So let me just clear this out for now. And in here, instead of Nuxt welcome, we will use Nuxt page. Okay, so we have the Nuxt page created. So what we need right now is we need to create a new folder called pages. And inside of these pages, we will create 2 Vue pages, Vue components that will act as pages. One will be index.vue, and basically in our case it will be a home page that will also display a list of products. So I will create a new script tag with setup and lang equals ts, and inside here I will just use the same logic that we had in the step before in the app.view. So I will have the client here, and from the client I will fetch products and specifically the list, so that I can get the certain amount of products. Next, I will create a template section or template tag below that. So we have template. And in here, I will copy some code from my previous tutorials for the product list. So let me get through it quickly. We have a section that has a display flex, and inside of it, we are looping over the array of products to get one certain product. And this product will have an image, which will be Nuxt image. So this image will be optimized. We will do that in a second. As a source for that image, we are passing the thumbnail. This is, by the way, the structure of Medusa object or Medusa product object. So thumbnail is responsible for the image. Next, we have the product title. We have the price, which is the price for the first variant and specifically the amount. And just below that, we have description. So if we save that and we move into browser, we should see, the list of products. However, if we inspect the image here, you will see that this image is actually, or maybe it will be better to see it in the network tab, especially if we filter it by images, you will see that all of these images are actually PNGs. So what we could do here is we could utilize the next image to have more performant images, to have better format like WebP. So in here, what I will do is I will say format equals WebP, but this one will not work yet, because in order to make it work, what we need to do is we need to set the certain domain in that Nuxt image can optimize images from. It is described here in the configuration, and inside here you have domains. So we need to do something similar. I will copy this and I will close this up because this won't be needed. This won't be needed as well. In here, just below the modules array, I will create this image object, and inside domains here, I will, instead of Nuxt.js.org, I will pass this starting path here. So Medusa public until.com, and I will paste it right here. So what should happen right now is, instead of this src, we should see, something like this. So it's proxied for the local IPX instance, and thanks to that, what we get is, right now we have the images in the WebP format, so they should load much faster. So we have our product list. So right now they don't act exactly as the product list, because we can't really go to the product detail page. We need to have the links, and we also need to have the product detail page. So right now we will add the list, the link component around this whole product item, and we will also create a new page that will be responsible for displaying the data about certain product. So let's go to the code, and in here, what we will do is we will wrap this whole div with a NuxtLink, and we will copy all of this inside, and this NuxtLink, it will have a two, and it will also be dynamic, because in here what we will have is we'll have string interpolation. So in our case, let's say that the path will be /p for products, and / will be product.id. Let's save it and let's see if it works. So right now we see in the bottom left corner, we see that each of these elements of product cards, when we hover over them, we have a link to /p /prod something something. Let's create a folder called P for products. And in here, what we'll do is we will go with id.view. And this tells View or Nuxt that this will be a dynamic parameter that we will get from the URL. So let's save it. And for now, let's just do script setup lang ts and use the router. So const or use root instead. So we have root, use root, or even we can get from here params. So let's go to template, and in here just display the params.id. So we'll go with p and params.id. Let's see if it works. So when we click on the first element, okay, so this not, oh, it works. Okay, I needed to reload the application. So in here, we see this ID that was passed as a parameter. So right now, what we could do is we could actually fetch the data of this certain product. And for that, I will be using a different method from the same Medusa client. So I will just copy this in here. But instead of going for clients.products.list, I will instead use another method here called retrieve, which will retrieve only one product based on the ID. So as a parameter here, as you can see, I can pass the ID. So I will just pass this ID here. And this is probably, yeah, because this is parameters from view router can be either string or an array of strings, while this retrieve expects only a string. So we will just go as string because we are sure that it will be only one string. And from here, what we can do is we can just go with, let's say, result for now, just to see the structure of it here. Okay, so as you can see, the structure is quite big. So we'll go probably with product. It will still be quite huge. But what we can do here right now is to create a product detail page so that the data will look a bit nicer. I will copy some code once more from my previous tutorial, and I will just input some data. So let me just format it with prettier so that it looks better. We have the div wrapper around our product detail page. We will have the image, but we can change it to Nuxt image. And as a source, we will pass product images, which will be the first image and the URL. And we will also change format to WebP. Below that, we will have the product title and we will have the product description. And finally, we will also have a button that will just say pay and the certain amount of the certain price for the product. So let's just save it and let's see how it looks like. So as you can see here, we have the product image, we have product title, product description, and this button that's also displays the product price. Let's go to the home page once again. And let's try to fetch the data about the different products. So let's go for this cool Medusa mug. And we see title, description, and the price, and obviously the image. So at this point, I think we have this sorted out. So what we need to do as the last step is to basically just deploy this very simple e-commerce application to Vercel. So we'll go to Vercel, but first, I forgot, I'm always forgetting about this, we need to push this code to the repository. So I will just add all of this and I will stop my server and I will say git commit and I will say feature working app. I will say git push, so it will push the code to the repository. And right now, this repository should be visible here. Yeah, so we have Nuxt Medusa Tailwind. We will import it Vercel automatically recognizes the Nuxt.js as the framework for our application. Root directory is okay. We don't need to edit that. We don't need to edit any build configuration or commands because these are selected by default and they're basically working. The last thing we need to do is we need to add the environment variables. And we have, as you remember, we have two of them. We have Medusa URL and Nitro port. So what we'll do here is I will just copy the content of this .env file. And as you can see here, I can paste the .env above to populate the form. So let's see if it works. And it works. We have Medusa URL that points to the Medusa playground and the Nitro port so that our application is running on port 8000. I think that's it. Let's click deploy and see if it works. Okay, congratulations. As you can see by the confetti, our app was successfully deployed. Let's see it. We have the product list here that are fetched from the playground. And when we click on a certain one, we will see the product detail page. And that was it. We have just built a very simple e-commerce website with Nuxt-free, TailwindCSS, and Medusa. Just two final notes from my side. First of all, you don't need this Nitro port environment variable for your Vercel deployment. It's not needed. I just copied the whole file just to show you that you can very easily copy the whole .env file in there. And another thing, maybe you have noticed that some of the products were disappearing after a certain amount of time. It's because of the CORS policy that doesn't allow websites with certain domains to access the Medusa playground. So I explained at the very beginning of the video, and we managed to have a workaround for it by setting a port for Nuxt application to 8000. However, in our production application, we have this like Nuxt Tailwind medusa.vercel.app domain, which is not registered in CORS settings for the Medusa, but it can be easily fixed with setting this option in your Medusa configuration. See you next time.